It's time for On the Way, our weekly segment on all things considered, breaking down the week's transit news. Joining us is WNYC's transportation reporters Stephen Nesson and Ramsey Khalife and editor Clayton Guza. All right, this week we learned the massive Hudson River Tunnel project is once again in jeopardy. President Trump is refusing to make the congressionally mandated payments to keep the project moving. Stephen, you reported that it doesn't just harm the country's largest infrastructure project, but the blue-collar workers that the president routinely celebrates as so core to his base. Tell us more.
Right. So this project is what we generally call Gateway. It's the project to build a new tunnel for Amtrak and NJ Transit that runs between New York and New Jersey, Independence Station. Mm-hmm. The project employs at least 11,000 union workers. And as news sort of trickled out this week that funding is about to run dry as soon as next Friday, those workers showed up at the Gateway board meeting, those labor folks. And the message sure sounded like workers, many of whom were and are Trump supporters, were addressing their man in his kind of language. Wow. Some were cursing, others appealed to the Make America Great or America First mantra, and a lot of them, leaned into the hyperbole that Trump is most famous
Very
for.
Trump. Yep.
Mike Hellstrom is the vice president of the Labor's International Union of North America. He was there, and he compared this project to the Hoover Dam, the interstate highway system, even the moon landing.
The Hudson Tunnel is our generation's next big thing. This project we are investing in is an American job, an American's economy. It is the very definition of American first. It's time to stop using this tunnel as a political pawn in a political fight. It doesn't serve any of us.
So I ran this by the White House. They emailed us to say this is very much a political fight. And in fact, if Democrats fully fund Department of Homeland Security, and by extension ICE, your little tunnel project will get its money back.
Wow.
I asked some of the workers if they voted for Trump, and they said, yeah, someone voted for him twice. But it's not clear if they will still be Trump voters if he kills their jobs.
Sure.
For that, I checked in with Norman Brown, a former labor leader, who says this could hurt Trump in the long run.
There will be some people that peel off, Trump supporters who peel off and schlep away, pretending that they don't know who they voted for.
Remember, this was a project that Trump stalled during his first administration. Yeah. President Biden really got it going again. This project has his stamp all over it.
I mean, this project stalled forever. Remember the ARC tunnel?
Yeah,
was
wow.
planned 15. Christie canceled funding for that 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That also would have built new rail tunnels into Penn Station. But back to the point, I mean, you can't emphasize it enough. Trump's whole campaign, this time around especially, was around immigration. He repeatedly said on the campaign trail that, quote, illegal immigrants are taking your jobs. Mm-hmm. The whole concept there was to vilify immigrants and really aim to appeal to working class U.S. citizens who felt like they weren't getting a fair shake and created this mass migration and immigrants as a kind of a boogeyman. And that platform is how the administration has justified these really aggressive crackdowns, immigration crackdowns with ICE and Border Patrol agents over the last year. The latest example is obviously in Minnesota, where federal agents have killed and shot 2 U.S. citizens this month. And for much of the Biden administration, right, those 4 years, I talked to union leaders, just through the course of reporting and as being a journalist, who and union leaders have historically supported Democrats, right? Unions are a liberal cause, not exactly pro-business or pro-worker, but they would time and again tell me their rank and file members were growing more and more and more conservative, more likely to vote for Trump, upset not just about the culture wars and, the woke agenda, but also blaming immigrants for their own economic burden caused by a whole number of factors and inflation and all kinds of things. But what we're seeing here in this situation with Gateway is not immigrants taking away these jobs, these 11,000 construction jobs, or threatening them. It's not immigrants, it's Trump himself playing politics over this. And that's the whole rub here. That's the interesting, kind of political analysis that comes to a head with this huge project.
Yeah, head spinning. All right, moving on to another pet project from the Trump administration that would impact New Yorkers. Congestion pricing, another favorite here and on the way. That was back in court this week. The MTA is seeking to save the tolls from being shut down by the feds. Stephen, you attended that hearing. Is the program at risk of being shut down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it very much remains to be seen. It's in a judge's hands now.
Yeah.
But in this case, you may recall last February, Trump posted on social media that congestion pricing is dead. Long live the king. Mm-hmm. Well, the MTA is arguing argued in court this week. The program has already been approved. The feds basically signed a contract that says you can toll the roads in Manhattan. Here's MTA lawyer Roberta Kaplan speaking after this week's hearing.
The idea that the government can enter into a contract like this, which is a huge project over a number of years, cost a fortune to put together, and then really at a whim of one person decide that they're terminating, is exactly what this country was founded against. We don't have a king here. We have a president, we have an administrative state, and we have courts that hold people to their commitments.
Lawyers for the federal government basically made the case that the Trump administration is all about affordability and congestion pricing doesn't align with that. The judge asked, do you have any evidence that the plan is hurting anyone? And they didn't have anything new, but the federal lawyer had an old letter from former Governor Phil Murphy, who complained congestion pricing would harm New Jersey drivers.
Yeah, and like Stephen said, they didn't really have evidence, but on the contrary, the MTA has evidence to support that congestion pricing is really helping New York City.
Okay.
Officials just shared that it's raised over $562 million in its first year. That's going to go towards critical infrastructure investments. There were 27 million fewer vehicles in the zone compared to the year before the tolls. Bus and traffic speeds have gone up. There's been a lot of improvements in New York City because of this program.
All right, we can't get through this week's On the Way without talking about the weather. It's been quite the week. When the snowstorm closed school on Monday, public transit was up and running, at least in New York City. We've heard Mayor Mamdani get pretty good reviews on how he handled the storm. What's the On the Way team's assessment?
So each transit agency really scored differently. The MTA left service running on the storm day on Sunday and was able to continue their regular weekday schedule in the week after. While there were some delays on the trains related to equipment failures, service was still running smoothly. It was the same with Long Island Railroad and Metro North service. Few track equipment issues because of the weather, but some delays, not more than that. But New Yorkers were more likely to feel some of those delays if they were riding the buses. As you know, there's been a lot of snow. It was cleared from the streets, but there are many bus stops and just stands waiting that haven't been cleared. A lot of people taking time to get on and off the buses. Yeah. But the biggest toll on public transit in the city has been on the ferries. Not the Staten Island ferry, but the New York City ferry. That's been completely shut off this week. It still hasn't come back because of all the ice, in the rivers.
Yeah. The New York City ferry runs rinky-dink boats. Staten Island ferry, these big ships. You can't stop them.
As the only member of the On the Way team that biked into work today, I can report it's pretty mixed out there, actually. Side streets are fairly weak. The bike lane is pretty slushy and unusable. The main roads are much better, but even J Street, for example, in downtown Brooklyn, the bike lane just suddenly disappears. There's a mountain of snow blocking it, and that's also blocking the bus lanes, like Ramsey was saying. But I will say the Brooklyn Bridge bike lane is totally clear and is great. In downtown Manhattan, it's a mix, but generally the bike lanes are pretty clear. Not so bad.
New Yorkers are going to grow out of patience soon because we haven't had a massive snow like this that's also followed up by a freeze where the snow doesn't melt.
Yeah.
You know, Mamdani's getting some credit, but it's also kind of a rare situation relative for New York and requires kind of a unique solution. Just one point on New Jersey, they kind of gave up. They gave up a long time ago. They didn't even run service in the storm on New Jersey Transit, and they barely got it going in the days after. Right. You think the MTA's infrastructure is bad? Go look at New Jersey.
Go look at Jersey.
They don't really fund it. Okay. So I mean, it's really, it's apple and a moldy apple.
Okay. All right. We're going to drive our producers crazy, but we're going to do it. We're going to get in Curious Commuter here every week in our On the Way newsletter. We answer a question from a Curious Commuter. This one's from John in Brooklyn. Recently, the MTA changed its ticket policy so that single ride tickets purchased in the Train Time app now expire at 4 a.m. the next day. You can no longer keep a ticket in your wallet for future use. Why did they do this?
Well, it's all about fare evasion. There are new rules that say if you want to ride, you have to activate your ticket before you get on the train because there's been opportunistic fare evasion. Some people get on the trains, they don't activate it because they think they can get a free ride. Now it says it'll expire, so you better use it now or you will get fined.
It's the bathroom trick. You hide in the bathroom, they don't scan the ticket, you save it for next time.
Exactly.
Wow. We're learning everything we need to know.
First.
Yeah, everything you need to know about transit here. Thanks to John for the question. That's WNYC's Ramsey Khalife, Stephen Nesson, and Clayton Guzzi. You can stay in the know on all things transit or ask a question of your own by signing up for our weekly newsletter at gothamist.com/ontheway. My friends, stay warm out there.